Drutter here, March 21st, 2020, and it's day 6 of my quarantine. And before I get to the question, am I infected? A little bit of news. 800 per day now dying in Italy. That's going up very rapidly. It was less than 600 last time, yesterday. So in BC here, we're about 2 weeks behind Italy in numbers. We have only 10 dead right now. But, like I said, in Canada here, we're about 2 weeks behind, maybe 10 days to 2 weeks behind their numbers. So it's important that we don't do things the same way that they did. They waited a little bit too long for social isolation. And in other countries that are doing a little better, maybe South Korea and a few others, we are seeing a lot fewer cases hitting all at once. And the healthcare system, as we were talking about yesterday and the day before, just can't handle it all at once. And there are now 500 confirmed infected here in British Columbia, where I am. 10 dead so far. That's the majority. The majority were in the Vancouver area in a retirement home. So it does, as we know, it does infect and kill older people a lot more often than it will kill younger people. But that's not exclusive. There are a lot of young people in Italy, for example, that are dying, and all over the world. It's just a matter of numbers. There are less young people dying, but we don't really want to see anyone dying at all, not even older people. We don't want anyone to unnecessarily die from a virus just going around. It's kind of an unkind way to die. Pneumonia, basically gurgling to death. Not nice. There's a lot better ways, especially when you have no health care. If you have a little bit of health care, maybe you can, pneumonia is not super awful way to die, I guess. But, doing that so at home or in a hospital hallway or something like that without oxygen, without medication, without care is not preferable at all. And that's going to happen to a lot of people, and it is happening to a lot of people, unfortunately. Here in Canada, the provinces are limiting travel within Canada, not just outside of Canada. The Canadian border, of course, is completely locked down now, but within Canada, travel is being limited. For example, in northern communities that don't have a lot of infections yet are trying to cut off themselves from the rest of Canada. So, it's starting a little bit within Canada. There are some limitations between provinces and such, and I think that's only going to continue. Unfortunately, that seems to be what's happening in the States as there's state of emergency basically everywhere, and now in over a quarter of the U.S., I think about a third of the U.S. population now is under shelter in place. So that's very, very strict. And in Italy, what they're doing with shelter in place is they're really ramping it up, and they're saying nothing but absolute essentials. If you have no food, you're allowed to go out briefly once a week or something like that by yourself. All this kind of stuff. And other than that, everything else is closed. All non-essentials are closed. All industry and everything is all shut down. Just absolute essential. And they're enforcing it with the military. So it's getting very, very strict there. And it makes you wonder what's going to happen here next, since the virus is a couple of weeks behind. Is the tyranny a couple of weeks behind? Some people say it's necessary, but I do think it is necessary we shelter in place and that we isolate socially. But I don't think I don't think it needs to be long, and I don't think it can be long. I think we have to make sure it's only a short amount of time that we do this for. Other restrictions here are no gathering. They keep changing the number. I think it's definitely below 50 now. It's either be 50 or 10, no gathering over 50 or 10, something like that. But it changes every day. Basically, you're not allowed to really get together other than with your family and for essential reasons. And even then, they're saying don't visit the elderly unless you're just dropping something off or whatever, because you're going to infect them. Even if you drop something off, can't you infect people that way too? Unless they sterilize it all as it comes in the door. I don't know. Only essential services here are open. I think that's in a lot of cases and in a lot of places now. There's just what, quote, just what you need. But, the dispensaries, like I said yesterday, the dispensaries for cannabis are closed. Some people have life-threatening conditions, illnesses, other than COVID-19, of course, and they can be dying from that. They can be dying from that if they don't have cannabis. It really can be that serious for people. MS and epilepsy and certain types of cancer. If you stop your cannabinoid therapy, you can die within days or sooner. Children even a lot of times with epilepsy and stuff like that. So when dispensaries close, that's very, very, very serious. That's people's only source. So it's not a joke. It's not just about getting high for a lot of people. It is a life and death thing. So, and that's just one example. So all these things that are closing are considered non-essential, but they are essential for a lot of people. They're not essential for our society to continue, but they're essential for certain individuals to continue on. So there are going to be a lot of people suffering and even dying, unfortunately. A tighter lockdown is even coming. They're saying it's coming here, shelter in place any time. So the economy is really almost halted totally. It's getting close to halting fully. Banks are closing. You're not really getting any cash out of the bank now. And they're basically bringing a cashless economy in on purpose. They have been for years, but this is really advancing things rapidly. As I was talking about yesterday, they're not accepting cash really anymore anywhere. And if they do, it's very, very limited in a way. I don't think anyone is. You know, you're not allowed to go and dine in a restaurant. You're not allowed to pick up at a restaurant. You can only go through drive-through. Some people like me don't have driver's licenses. Some people aren't allowed them or just don't have them. Or they can't afford a car. So how do you know, we're required to have a car to use a restaurant now? No. If you order online or with a smartphone or with the app or all these different things, there's no real cash option to any of this, basically. So cash is being phased out in multiple ways. The store shelves here are empty. Any of the stores that are still open, mostly empty anyway. There are things to buy. It's just not usually what you want to buy. If you can find anything close to it, it's usually not the type, the brand, the flavor, the whatever. It's food. You grab it. You're lucky to get something. So, it's getting weird out there. That's something that Canada I don't think has dealt with for a long time, is no food on the shelves. The government is urging restraint and, urging people not to buy. Don't buy so much. Don't buy so much. You don't need so much. The supply chain is strong, all this kind of stuff. And then the media is shaming and blaming hoarders. You guys are stealing from everyone else. Basically, you're buying too much and hoarding it away, and we've got to put limits on everything. It's very Venezuelan, it sounds like, with the empty shelves and the limits and what's next, price fixing, I guess. And the government says to have 2 weeks of food and supplies on hand, but it's been 32 days since the last disability payout, and these people on disability are some of Canada's most vulnerable. You could say they are people, a lot of them are people with pre-existing conditions, right, for the virus, like heart problems and lung problems and immune system problems. So these people who have qualified for disability and need that payment that comes in approximately once a month. Now at this point it's been 32 days since their last paycheck. So in that 32 days, the virus has gone from completely off the radar for most people to now, please have 2 weeks of food on hand, the government's saying. And these people are going, okay, I'd love to go to the store, I'd love to stock up, but payday's not till next Wednesday. And there is no such thing as a payday advance for people on disability. You don't go to your boss and then get a little bit of, it's just not, there's not that option. These people have to wait till payday for them, which is next Wednesday. And stores are pretty much closed as of Friday, as of yesterday. There's very, very little open, and what's there has been picked clean. So I feel for those people that, there's many groups that need to be talked about here, and I'm just focusing on one, obviously, but the disabled are some of the most vulnerable, and they are those people that have immune problems, they have heart problems, they have lung problems, etc. They are the people that will be hit hardest by this, and they don't have nutrients, they don't have medicine, they don't have supplies, they don't have the stuff that it takes to weather a pandemic that's about to slam into this part of the world. So I just hope that can get fixed quickly for those people. Something can be done. I guess it's a little too late now for this month, but hopefully by the month after that, maybe there could be some help, or maybe even between months, maybe even a payment, an emergency payment can be distributed to those people or something. Because I know something's being done for families and for elderly and for different various groups, people, entrepreneurs and so forth. I'm just wondering about the disabled people, if that's going to be a priority at all for anyone. And I just want to talk a little bit now about, am I infected? My symptoms. And this part's going to be a little bit confusing because I have a chronic illness that I don't even have a full diagnosis for. So I do have already some of the symptoms of COVID-19 all the time, like muscle aches, nerve pain, shakes, and different things like that. I have all the time, and I have for 3.5 years now, since my grandmother died early in 2016, I guess, basically 4 years now. And many other symptoms that don't even need to talk about here, but the point is I don't have a diagnosis because Canada's healthcare system, Canada's free healthcare system, you get what you pay for, it turns out. Diagnosis is just not there for the chronic illnesses. They want to diagnose things that they can give a pill for, or put a cast on or something like that, or burn off or whatever, like you got a wart, we can deal with that. But, chronic illnesses, autoimmune, all that kind of stuff, it's just not on the radar for most doctors. And so I'm yet to get a proper diagnosis, and that is sort of confusing things because about 3 weeks ago, I went to Kelowna, nearby, got some groceries from the Costco. By the way, it was pretty much normal. I've talked about this in past episodes, but it was pretty normal there. I guess it was about 4 weeks ago now. And fairly normal. And just a few people with a few extra things in their cart, but it certainly wasn't, no one was rushing. It was, everything was in stock. It was completely regular as far as I was concerned. And that was the last time I was in Kelowna, but I came back from there, and maybe even, not that night, but maybe the next day or the day after that, I definitely felt something funny in my throat, like, just something different, something not normal, and just sort of a little tight or a little bit constricted, or something maybe growing in there, and it didn't hurt. I just thought, okay, it's not a regular infection, because I've had throat infections on and off. Not regularly for a while. I've been very, very healthy for years, but I know what a throat infection feels like, and it didn't feel like that. And so, it came and went maybe for a few days, and I was thinking, don't think too much of it. This is, everyone's joking around about Wuhan disease and all this kind of stuff, and it's like, yeah, but don't read too much into it. I thought, no, it's not even in this area yet, so don't be stressed about it. So I just kept on ignoring that. And my son, my baby, he's 6 months old. We check his temperature every now and again. We got a little baby thermometer, so it's electronic, really easy, just beep. And that's great. So we actually take our own temperatures too sometimes, just for fun. And all of a sudden, one time I noticed that my temperature was high, and so was his. His was 37.8, and mine was 37.7 or 37.6, and normally mine is usually 36.5, 36.8, that kind of thing, and same with him usually. And so, but he's teething, so I thought maybe it was the teething for him, and for me I just thought, I don't know, and I tested it again 6 hours later, and it was back to normal. So I just thought very little of that, because I thought, when you get an infection and you start to fight it off, usually your body runs a fever for at least a little while to burn those bugs out and to activate the immune response. But I didn't feel like that was happening, so I didn't think I was sick still. And also, like I said, I have muscle aches, nerve pain, and twitches and tremors and other unwanted movements and things as well all the time now for 4 years. So if anything like that was going on, I wouldn't have known it. Same with like headaches and stuff like that. Many of the symptoms I have to deal with all the time, so I wouldn't have known. But I did get a little gunky in my chest, a little like, like when you're breathing out and breathing out rapidly, you can feel something catching in there. And yeah, we don't need to go into details, but I don't smoke. If you're wondering, I'm not a smoker. I'm a cannabis user, but I take it through vapor or through oral dosing. It's not. It's like edible form or vapor. It's not. Never any smoke. No smoke particles. I may have to begin smoking if we can't get extracts and edibles like we like to and like we normally do, because everything's shutting down on us here. But I may have to begin smoking just to get some cannabinoids, and same with Medicaid. But for the most part, no, we haven't smoked in a long time. So it's not that going on with my lungs. Something else was in there, and it just wasn't that bad. I've had pneumonia before, and I fought it off myself at home, and it wasn't even a tenth of as bad as that. It just was like the odd, like, something going on there. And it really hasn't developed. And then, but as I'm learning more about the illness, and I'm hearing people saying, "Oh, I only had a couple of spikes." These are people that have actually had confirmed diagnosis of the illness. They say, "I've only had a little spike of temperature here and there, maybe 37.8 for a few hours and down again." I was, "Oh, okay, yeah, okay, that sounds familiar." And they're saying a dry cough. Yeah, I've had the dry cough, and then a little bit gunky down in the lungs after a while. It starts to go down in the lungs. It's like, yeah, it's a little bit in the lungs. And then they say, and then either you recover or your organs start shutting down at that point, basically. So, and I feel like I'm at that point of recovery. I don't feel like my organs are about to start shutting down. So if I have it, I'm on the mend. And same with my baby. I think he's on the mend. And my wife, if anything, she had a mild case. She did notice something in her throat too, like the same feeling, like constricting for about a week there. Like definitely feeling like there was something growing in there. And turns out it was can be a virus. Sometimes viruses don't hurt when they grow. They just feel funny in your throat, and then they go down into the lungs or other areas sometimes. But sometimes when they're in the throat, a virus won't hurt. A bacterial infection sometimes hurts a lot more, and you get that nasty sore throat from a cold. But this didn't seem like a cold or flu or anything. It was something else, and the timing is about right. And I did come back from Kelowna, and there's cases in Kelowna now. I don't know if they were far they were confirmed, but I was there a few weeks ago, and Kelowna's fairly associated with Vancouver. There's a lot of traffic back and forth. Kelowna has an international airport that flies to Vancouver. There's a highway in between the two. It's just a few-hour drive. Yeah, Kelowna and Vancouver is infested pretty heavily right now. So I wouldn't be surprised if Kelowna had it a few weeks ago. And would the germs be at the local Costco? I would imagine they might be at the local Costco. If they were anywhere in Kelowna, they might be there, because that's where a heck of a lot of people go. And it makes sense. But there is no testing for people like me. You have to have just returned from somewhere and have symptoms. So maybe I do have some of the symptoms, but I haven't just returned from somewhere. My parents just returned from somewhere, but that's New Zealand, and I haven't seen them. They've been in quarantine since they got back, and they only returned a few days ago, so that's absolutely not the cause of anything. So I don't know what it is. If I picked it up, then I guess I did pick it up, and if so, I think I'm mostly on the mend now. I won't be able to get tested. Now, when they have a test for antibodies, that will tell me if I have had the illness in the past. So I'll be willing to go and get some blood drawn and get that test taken when that's available. But I guess other than that, I don't think there's going to be any testing for me available, or for the baby or anything, unless we get further sick. Well, now there's a bunch of noise about to start up, so I'm going to end the video here. The furnace is about to come on. And I'll talk to you tomorrow for day 7. And stay healthy out there. Talk to you guys soon.